Okay, last one, folks. All right, I'm Amanda.
I'm Derek.
Adrian?
And I'm Jimmy. We did our project on the Winding Filament Theory. Fully understand this theory, I just want to start off again mentioning a little bit about the Sliding Filament Theory. So that was discovered actually in 1954, and it provided more a molecular basis for muscle contraction. But several features of muscle function actually remained unsolved after its development, such as the enhancement of force with stretch, the depression of force with shortening, the low force production during active stretch, and the high thermodynamic efficiency of actively shortening muscle. Now, efforts to explain these functions were made, and during that time, 20 years later, we discovered Titin, which is actually the third most abundant protein in striated muscle. Now, when Titin was first discovered, it was thought to just have structural functions by keeping the myosin aligned during a contraction, as well as stabilizing the adjacent sarcomeres. Now, modern day research, brand new, revealed that Titin also plays a functional role in muscle contraction. So when skeletal muscle is activated by calcium ions, some of these calcium ions actually bind to Titin, which result in changing its stiffness. Now, this is the central premise here of the actual winding filament theory. Now, the winding filament theory isn't intended by any means to replace the sliding filament theory. It just adds 2 additional steps to it that explains why a muscle has the ability to generate more force when it's stretched. Now, I'm going to have Adrian here just discuss a little bit more about the structure and the function of Titin.
Okay, thanks, Jimmy. Yep. All right, Titin is it's actually the third most abundant protein found in striated muscle, and it's also it's a giant polypeptide, and it is the largest known protein that we know of, ranking in at 34,000 amino acids. It extends from the Z disc to the M line, and there's a couple components within the I band. Titin is like the elastic component of Titin. And there's 2 components that one acts as an anchor, and that is N2A, and PEVK, which acts as a spring. And Derek's going to explain to us how it all works.
All right, so now that we kind of have a brief understanding of the structure of Titin, I'm going to get into kind of the meat of what this is. So the first couple steps, this just hinges off of how the sliding filament theory works. Now, what happens in the winding filament is calcium, when it's released, it also binds to troponin C, just like we're used to, but it also binds to this N2A subunit, which causes that N2A subunit to bind to actin. So during an eccentric contraction that's under force, that actin molecule, or actin filament, actually starts to unwind. Now, because that N2A is bound to it, it actually starts to wind up the PEVK section, which is the functional spring. It's similar to a spring being stretched out. Now, the cool thing about that is it's passive energy, so it doesn't require any ATP. It just kind of hitches a ride on the muscle just doing the work by itself. And so you can think of that spring as it stretches out. Now, when that energy is built up, if you do a rapid concentric contraction following that eccentric, you're going to have more force than just the actin-myosin cross-bridge can account for, because that spring has built up all this elastic energy and it just slams shut. Now, if you were to slowly concentrically contract, that spring, at the rate that it's wound up, it's actually going to shorten at the same rate. So both sides unwind at the same time, no force is generated. Also, if you relax your muscle, there's no more calcium, and that N2A subunit unbinds, so if I were to load it up and then let go, it doesn't have any elasticity. So we're going to do a quick demonstration for you to show you. I already asked Calvin, he doesn't know the entire thing, so this is going to be to remove any bias. So he's going to just clench up where he is, do an air sit, jump as high as he can. Wait, hang on. Sorry. All right, do that one more time, sit down. It's very important you relax this, okay? Now bind, okay? Okay, she's going to mark. Now he is going to put himself under load. Crouch and vertical jump. And we should have had a difference, and that is because that spring winds up. If you don't believe that we didn't have this rigged, try it yourself. It's the coolest thing ever.
Rigged. All right, so in conclusion, the winding filament theory is not meant to replace the sliding filament theory, but it adds an elastic element, the Titin, which is in the active muscle sarcomeres controlled by calcium influx in the cross-bridge cycling. The winding filament model accounts for a wider range of well-established occurrences that are problematic under the sliding filament theory alone. The winding filament model provides a simple mechanism by which the PEVK segment of Titin contributes to muscle force development and active shortening. It's consistent with structural and elastic properties of muscle sarcomeres in general and of Titin in particular. It builds on the sliding filament theory and increases the explanatory value. Oh my God, it's like he planned it.
So before everybody takes off, let me just take a quick